Well, a good Monday morning to you, Central Georgia. Obviously, what we've been talking about all morning, and you've probably seen a little bit through the weekend, our uneventful and quiet stretch of weather will eventually be coming to an end as we approach Wednesday. So we're going to break down the forecast, currently what's going on, because that also pertains to the setup for what we do have in terms of possible severe weather for early Wednesday morning. So we're going to go ahead and start it out with our downtown Macon sky cam, getting a glimpse of some nice blue skies now. Obviously, we had our fair share of cloud cover this morning, and that cloud cover is beginning to fall apart as we head into these late morning and early afternoon hours. So right now, obviously, going to be a nice and sunny day, a pleasant day, still continuing with that quiet stretch. However, some changes arrive as we go into tomorrow and especially Wednesday morning. So let's flash it over to your current temperatures as we're taking a look at right here at the 10 a.m. hour in Central Georgia. See what we have in store for us, and still our fair share of light blue on this temperature map. So recent days have not been the case. We've been dealing with some green overtaking a lot of these temperatures, but now it looks like everyone is beginning their climb to the 50-degree mark. Not as drastic of a warm up as what we've seen in recent days. So now the satellite and radar picture, you can get an idea of how dense that cloud cover was earlier, and now that is beginning to fall apart. So as we go into our surface map, this is going to give us a look about what's going on all across the country, because obviously things out to the west typically have that west to east motion, and they impact our forecast as you go a couple days in the future. So if I move over from the right side of the screen right here, you'll see these blue H's, these high pressure centers. What these are indicative of means that you have a drier atmosphere in place, and that's when you have more stable weather, those nice sunny skies, maybe a few passing clouds. You could also still have some showers under a high pressure center, but as it stands right now, the eastern half of the United States is remaining pretty dry. You do see this cluster of showers right here moving out of Arkansas and Louisiana into Mississippi and Alabama. That's not going to do anything with our forecast here. Our models aren't picking up on that holding together much longer, But what I want to point to your attention is obviously what's going on here from Texas all the way up into Colorado. This low pressure center specifically, this red L, obviously it's taking shape, and what it's going to do, it's going to kind of merge with the center of low pressure that's in the northwest of Colorado and the southeast of Colorado, and this is going to take on the form of a system that is going to eventually track all the way eastward across the United States, but obviously already seeing this cold front take shape. This is the cold front we're going to be talking about once we get specifically into Wednesday morning. Don't really pay attention to anything going on there in Texas. Anything that is occurring there right now is going to fall apart. It's not really that strong of forcing. Obviously, you can just see this weak center of low pressure and the stationary boundary right here. We're definitely looking at the air masses to kind of neutralize each other as we go across the next couple of days. So big thing, I want you to pay attention to this. We'll be showing this on surface maps all throughout the next 48 hours as it does make its progress across the eastern half of the United States. So afternoon highs, this is going to set the stage. You see today going to be below average. Average there just behind my head is 67 for this time of year. So we're going to hover just below average for our high temperatures today. We're back into the 70s tomorrow and still in the 70s on Wednesday before our system will pass, usher in some cooler and drier air for Thursday and Friday. Still going to be pretty pleasant days, but a little more of a chill on Thursday afternoon. But the big story will be tomorrow. So a high of 76, and we could even see that number climb into the upper 70s as I come in and make my forecast with the data that is available tomorrow morning. But obviously going to be warmer, and that's going to allow moisture to re-enter our forecast. So that's going to play a big role ahead of this approaching frontal boundary that we'll talk about in just 1 second. And your morning lows, obviously, I continue to say that the chilly mornings are going to continue. We're in that in-between period where we're trying to transition to spring. However, still holding on to a little bit of winter in the morning hours, especially this morning with a low of 29 into the upper 30s tomorrow. So a little bit better, but it's still going to be pretty chilly. And then Wednesday actually going to have a very warm low temperature because cloud cover and rain will be in the forecast along with all of that moisture I was just referring to. So as of this morning, we have issued a weather impact alert day for the first half of Wednesday. This is going to be for the potential for gusty winds and thunderstorms, along with heavy downpours, frequent lightning, and the possibility of a spin-up tornado. And I want to go ahead and preface what happened 2 weeks ago. We had that line of showers and storms approaching from the west, resulted in continuous severe thunderstorm warnings, a couple of spin-up tornado warnings, none of which came to fruition and were confirmed tornadoes here in central Georgia. But obviously a pretty similar risk, a pretty similar setup, and this is going to be for the Wednesday morning hours, more so overnight Tuesday into early Wednesday morning. So we'll go through the specific timing of it in future view first. I'm going to have a lot of future view graphics kind of going into detail about what's going to specifically happen with those winds, with the humidity return. So let's start out with today. Like I said, the cloud cover we have right now will continue to clear, and it's going to be a nice and sunny into your Monday. Now some pattern changes are ahead as we go into tomorrow morning. Once again, cloud cover building in kind of from the southeast. So we're going to get this fetch of moisture from the Atlantic Ocean. And what that's going to do is just really lead the way into some partly cloudy skies for the first half of Tuesday. But also there's going to be sufficient moisture available the farther east that you live. So definitely east of I-75, you could run into a sprinkle shower or two as you're making your evening commute home from work tomorrow afternoon. And also look at these wind arrows. They're a little bit hard to see, probably right here where you get some clearing in the cloud cover. You can actually see how long and yellow they are. Tomorrow is going to be a pretty breezy day, and that's going to set the stage for a windy period that we have Tuesday virtually all the way into Thursday. So this is Tuesday at 5 p.m. and obviously you're seeing a lot of active weather over to our west. That's that frontal boundary finally starting to take shape and driving into central Georgia. So as the timing stands right now, and I will go ahead and preface this timing will fluctuate over the next 48 hours, but this is just where it does stand as of right now. Around 3 a.m., the main line of rain, this heaviest band of rain at the beginning, the leading edge of this frontal boundary, will start to push into our western counties. And then as we go about the 5 to 6 a.m. hours, still pretty prominent in central Georgia. It's looking like it's going to be a continuous line of rain, and with some pockets of red, some pockets of orange. That's going to be your heavier downpours, your more frequent lightning, and all of the things associated with more severe weather or stronger weather. And by 6 a.m., moving past the downtown Macon corridor, down into Houston County, the Warner Robins area, all the way down I-75. And then around 7 to 8 a.m., we'll continue to watch this line push into east central Georgia, so areas like Dublin, over into Wrightsville, Sandersville, down into Eastman. And by the time we get to about 9 to 10 a.m., this line is exiting to the east and will be going down the I-16 corridor. But you can obviously see this doesn't stay continuous in terms of those yellow colors and those orange colors. We start to see some areas of broken heavy rain. So obviously, if you do run into one of those patchy areas where maybe the rain's not as heavy in nature, you will consider yourself fortunate, but this is just what the latest run of Future View does say. Obviously, the features aren't looking too impressive right now in terms of instability, that thing you really need in terms for severe weather to fire up, because we're in that in-between period. We're not the most humid that we could be. We're not the warmest that we could be. So obviously, that is what's happening with that. It doesn't look like a very, very strong and continuous line of showers and storms. But still, nonetheless, we do have the potential for all of those impacts I was saying, and I'll give you more details about that in the next coming graphics. As we go into Wednesday afternoon, actually going to clear out for a brief period. Still going to be very breezy. These long and yellow wind arrows coming in from the west, the southwest. And then you'll notice that we see some cloud cover re-enter central Georgia heading into the Wednesday evening hours. So this is going to be because the low pressure center is going to be just to the north of this frontal boundary passing us. So what that's going to do, it's going to have that wrap around counterclockwise circulation. So we could see a few sprinkles train in throughout the nighttime hours on Wednesday heading into early Thursday. And I do believe this is as far as Future View goes right now. 3 a.m. on Thursday, some cloud cover hanging around into the overnight hours. But the humidity is something I prefaced already a little bit, and this is going to be a big factor. Now, you're used to us showing this map when it's summertime. You see those dew points in the 60s and the 70s. That air you can wear is what we like to refer to it as. Well, obviously, dew points in the 40s, not too impressive, but it's a step up from what we have today. So you're going to start to see moisture re-enter the forecast as we go into about midday tomorrow and continuing throughout the evening hours on Thursday. But then we turn it into Wednesday. So Wednesday at midnight, that frontal boundary, you can definitely see where it is taking shape right over here to our west in Alabama. What's behind it is a lot drier air. So obviously cold fronts move through. You get a lot colder, you get a lot drier typically as they pass through. So ahead of that boundary, you can see these shades of light green right here. So if you look at the scale that we have, it's not too bad on our muggy meter up here. When you get the dark green, that's really, really humid air, dew points in the 70s. 70s or even higher. Right now, we're only looking at them to increase to maybe about 57, 60 degrees ahead of this boundary, but that is definitely a lot more humid than the atmosphere we currently have present, and it will have something to work with because ahead of these frontal boundaries, they have a lot of lift. So what that does is obviously you have a lot of moisture at the surface, a lot of humidity. When that frontal boundary comes through, it's lifting everything in front of it. And what that does, it allows for that water and that moisture at the surface to continue to rise up into the sky. And that's why you get those higher cloud tops associated with severe weather or stronger storms. But then after the frontal boundary passes through, you can guess what happens. Cooler and drier air behind the front, well, that's what's going to filter in along with some pretty breezy conditions as we go into the overnight hours on Thursday. So now let's get into the nitpicky with the specific winds. You can see today not going to have much of a breeze whatsoever, but a steady breeze does build in as we go into about 4 p.m. tomorrow. Talking wind gusts maybe even up to 30 miles an hour, which we typically see after the passage of a boundary or just before it. Well, it's just going to set the stage for a pretty windy period. That is going to be the main impact with this system. There's straight line wind gusts ahead of this big pink shaded area. That's where you're seeing maybe some gusts up to 40 miles an hour associated with this. And if you do have a severe thunderstorm warning, that's winds of 60 miles an hour plus. So I do believe if we do have a stronger to severe thunderstorm, the winds will be even faster than the gusts that you do see here at 2 a.m. These gusty winds will continue all throughout the morning, but just after this frontal boundary does pass, that doesn't mean we're in the clear in terms of those gusty winds. It is still going to be a very breezy day with gusts of 30 to 35 miles an hour throughout Wednesday afternoon. Thankfully, it will be paired up with some nice sunny skies. But like I said, the winds aren't going anywhere. This is taking it to Wednesday evening right there at 8 p.m. and then all the way to Thursday morning. So if our low temperature drops down to maybe the 40s or the 30s, still paired up with a 20 to 25 mile an hour breeze, the feels like number is definitely going to be a lot lower than what the actual temperature does read. So right now the SPC, this is normally our guidance that we look at in terms of really nailing down where the storm potential is, and it's doing something a little weird. I'm going to go ahead and preface what it is first and then tell you how you should treat this, these two storm outlooks that we do have. Day 2 storm outlook. So as you see, this is going to be for Tuesday and more so the later hours on Tuesday heading into those overnight hours. Our western counties are outlined in a level 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather. You see those potential threats, the gusty winds I put at the top because like I said, that is going to be the main risk that we're looking at with some of those stronger to severe thunderstorms. The possibility of a spin-up tornado is there. Looking at all the parameters, which I'll also go into a little more depth in just a second, they're not looking really impressive whatsoever. About 2 weeks ago, we had a little bit more impressive parameters in terms of instability and the potential for a spin-up tornado. However, it still does exist, and that's something we'll be keeping a close eye on as we are watching the radar when this line of showers and storms does move through. But then you take it to the day 3 outlook. This is going to be for Wednesday, the early morning hours on Wednesday. And you'll see that not only number 1 are many areas upgraded into a level 2 right over here in this yellow, but you go back and we still have our fair share of areas in this level 1. But you'll also notice that maybe some areas didn't even get included in a risk whatsoever. So taking it to Cordele, Unadilla, up into Warner Robins, Milledgeville, Eatonton, Sparta, none of those areas were outlined in either the day 2 or the day 3. This is falling into a weird in-between period for these outlooks, the specific timing of them. So obviously not everyone is included. Some areas are falling into the time frame that the SPC doesn't necessarily include in one of these day outlooks. So what I want to tell you is for Wednesday morning, it looks like Tuesday night, we're definitely not looking at this to quite make it through. The timing as of right now is looking 2 to 3 a.m. on early Wednesday morning, so basically the overnight hours. Treat all of central Georgia as if they're in this yellow or this green color that is shaded right here. So you can see it only extends over to Irwinton, maybe west of Sandersville, Cochran. Extend this all the way over into our far western counties. So all of central Georgia essentially under a level 1 risk of seeing severe weather, but obviously this level 2 risk will still exist for our far southeastern corner, taking it down I-16. So parts of Johnson County, Lawrence County, that little notch in Dodge County, Telfair, and then the entirety of Trutland, Wheeler, and Montgomery counties and areas farther over to the east are under that level 2. We'll probably see some fine tuning with the shaded areas of this over the next couple of days. I hope they'll fix the discrepancy because some areas that weren't included in either of these outlooks will finally be included in something. But like I said, just treat it like this green shaded area goes all the way over to the western edge of central Georgia because it's falling in that in-between period. But I did mention the possibility of a spin up or a brief tornado. This is taking it right to Wednesday at 5 a.m. This is right around the time that this front will be pushing through these heavy showers and such. Well, you'll see it's really hard to see actually now that I'm pointing it out. But right up here, just kind of focus on this area when I play the pause point forward. Behind the weather impact logo, you'll see a light shaded gray area. Number one, that's not even that high of a tornado parameter in itself, and nothing of that color is in central Georgia whatsoever. This goes throughout the entirety of the morning hours, and you'll see that they move past those light gray shaded areas, move past from left to right on the banner. None of that looks to be in central Georgia, so I'm not too impressed with the parameters or the potential for a spin-up tornado, although this can change very rapidly like we did see 2 weeks ago. This number definitely upticked right in the morning hours, right before the front did roll through, so we'll be keeping a close eye on this graphic and the radar as we are going to closely monitor any possible rotation. So now we take it briefly to the long-range future view. What's going to happen after this? The breezy conditions will still remain for Thursday, but as we go throughout the day, the winds will begin to die down. And then as we go into Friday, looking like partly cloudy skies, still nothing that's going to be a rain producer. Good to go for Friday night plans. Saturday is where a few question marks remain because number one, you see this blue shaded area, the Euro hinting at some form of moisture returning to central Georgia for maybe some widespread showers. And then the GFS starts to get along as well. We start to see some kind of system trying to take shape to the west. However, we're seeing drastic disagreement at this point with the long-range models. Essentially is looking like a wet Saturday evening into Sunday morning. We'll continue to get there. When we do get there, like I always like to say, we'll cross that bridge when we get there because obviously the immediate concern is what's going to happen on Wednesday. Nonetheless, we have issued a weather impact alert day for the first half of Wednesday. So that's going to be these morning hours during Wednesday. Exact timing right now, as it does stand, this is very likely to change, 2 to 10 a.m. So the overnight hours when you're fast asleep, all the way into those late morning hours when many of you are trying to make your morning commute out to work. The main impact are going to be these gusty winds associated with stronger to severe thunderstorms, but what you're going to need to do is stay weather aware and have a way to receive possible alerts. Now, we put this out every single time we have severe weather, but I really want to emphasize it with this. Number one, there is some pros and some cons to this. So the pros are this is going to be an overnight risk. So you will already be in the safety of your home, and also this isn't going to be as strong forcing associated with this. If this line moved through during the daytime, those warmest hours during the afternoon, that's when we'd probably have more instability present, more moisture, but luckily this will be in the overnight hours when it's a little bit cooler. Now the cons, you are already asleep. So if you are to have any severe warnings pop up, definitely want to have a way to set those to where it is going to wake you up, because the last thing you want is a tornado warning popping up and then obviously you're fast asleep and you're sleeping through it. So go ahead and take those actions. Make sure that you have those warnings available and those notifications turned on, whether it's with us, whether it's with the National Weather Service, whether it's your weather radio. Be sure that you have a way that will wake you up if there is to be a severe warning associated with any of this line of showers and storms. So that's where things do stand right now. I made a few posts on Facebook. I'm going to take a look at those and see if any of you have any specific questions. I know it's a lot of information I just threw at you. We've got to break it down piece by piece. I know some of you will probably want to know about your specific area, and I'm going to go back to those SPC outlooks and tell you how you should essentially treat it, not just what you see. So let's go over to, I made a post on my personal account and in the Weather Network, and I believe we made a post on the 13 Facebook page. So I'll look through all these comments and see if you have any specific questions about that. Obviously, we're on our stream right now, but if you do have a specific question, go to my Facebook, go to 13 WMAZ's Facebook, the Weather Network. I've made a post in all of those about this live stream that I'm doing. Wanted to serve as a Q&A to obviously answer any questions that you do have a concern about. So thanks for sharing. From Mary Griffin, Randy Cox says, thanks Alex for keeping us updated. Lauren Black asks, so it looks like Cordial is in the clear. So that's the one thing I want to go back and revisit, because obviously these outlooks are definitely a little misleading. Obviously, those areas kind of in the middle right here. So if I show you this outlook right here, this is the day 3, so for Wednesday morning. But then if I pop it over to our day 2, you'll see it's only our western counties. This leaves out areas like Macon, Warner Robins, Perry, Unadilla, Cordele, all along that I-75 corridor, and areas to the north and northeast, Eatonton, Milledgeville, Sparta. Treat it as if you're seeing this storm outlook, the day 3, because number one, I don't really think anything's going to happen Tuesday unless we see a drastic trend forward associated with this front, which you can't rule out, but as it stands right now, that timing 2 to 3 a.m. on Wednesday overnight, or the overnight hours into early morning hours. Treat it as if this is your storm outlook, except this green area extends all the way over to the west. So this is going to include everyone in central Georgia, Forsyth, Thomaston, Butler, down to Montezuma, Unadilla, yes, Cordele as well, Warner Robins, Macon, Irwinton, Milledgeville. This level 1 encompasses everyone except for these areas already outlined in this level 2. So our far southeastern corner, Soperton, Vidalia, McRae, Alamo, all those areas down in our far southeastern corner in that yellow shaded area. Now, a level 1 isn't the most impressive, and some of the values that I have looked at, it's not too impressive in terms of instability ahead, but we can see a drastic change in the upward direction of those instability values, maybe moisture content that's available. So that's why it's going to be very important to stay up to date with the latest forecast each morning, afternoon, and evening, because what I say right now may change when Ben comes in later on tonight and does the evening show. So staying up to date over the next 48 hours about possible changes in that timing, maybe storm potential, what potential threats are looking more and more likely. So that's what I want to go ahead and say. That's the action you can take over the next couple of days, and also making sure you have that way to receive any possible severe weather warnings when many people will already be fast asleep. All right, so I looked at my post. Looks like we got about 4 comments, and I know many people are at work right now or in the thick of running errands and such, so obviously we're going to continue to do these live streams not only each morning but each evening as well, to make sure that we're answering any concerns that you may have with this, because now we're getting into that severe weather season. The weather's starting to get warmer, we're getting more moisture back in the atmosphere, so the spring is typically when we do see lots of systems kind of train through the central Georgia area, and then with more moisture, more instability, that's what starts to sprout a lot more of that severe weather that you typically don't see during the winter months. All right, so this is the Weather Network post. See lots of thank yous. I see Stacy Liebensberger. Dang, always when I'm driving to work. I know it has been unfortunate. We've had many of these early morning severe weather risk. But the good news is if we do follow along to this timing on Future View, obviously the bulk of it will more than likely be moving through when you are asleep or when you're in the safety of your home. So this is 5 a.m., obviously still mainly west of I-75. Maybe for any of you early morning and early birds that are heading out to the gym or getting some things done before you are making your morning commute to work, this would be interrupting those plans. And I definitely do recommend staying inside and trying not to be on the roads with this, especially because of those winds. The winds are definitely going to blow you left or right, no matter what kind of road you are driving on. But we go to about 7 a.m. So say this is typical time that people are waking up, getting out and about, going through their morning routine. You see, this is a pretty quick mover. 5 a.m., it's mainly west of Macon. By 7 a.m., 2 hours later, this is east of Macon. So areas further over to the west and the northwest, they're definitely looking like you're in the clear, at least from that heavy rain and all that frequent lightning, and also the possibility of really seeing any tornadoes if we do have that brief spin up. But that mainly looks to be encompassing areas like Dublin, over into Sandersville, down to Dodge County and Eastman. And this is at the 7 a.m. hour. So if you could postpone your morning routine, maybe just an hour or two, take a look at how far that progress has been made down the I-16 corridor. By 9 a.m., this looks to virtually have cleared the central Georgia area. We're just left with those residual gusty winds that are going to last all throughout Wednesday into early Thursday as well. So hopefully this timing does continue to trend, maybe even a little bit earlier. If this could be a midnight to 7 a.m. thing, we're all clear by 7 a.m. and you can go about your regular morning routine. Just continue to use caution on the roads because those gusty winds, like I said, going to make it very difficult driving conditions. But that's where it does stand as of right now. If you live further to the east, that's where it's really going to be complicating things like your morning commute. Let's take a look at some more comments if I do see a couple. And if we don't see any pop up over here, I'll kind of just make some key messages to leave you with. And obviously tune in later on this evening for the latest forecast. I'll be doing forecasts at midday. Ben Jones will be in this evening, and he will plan on doing a live stream around 9 o'clock this evening. So you can definitely wind down for bed and keep updated with Ben from the latest updates we're getting from the SPC, our models, whatever the guidance is at that point. So, not seeing any new comments on the Weather Network post. And then I will take it over to our Facebook page because I know Justin Baxley and our digital team made a post on there about it. It doesn't look like any comments on that one. So let me circle back to my post real quick and see. Just obviously want to continue to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. Think of these as a Q&A with not only just a weather breakdown. And it does look like I'm not seeing any additional comments in my notifications and such. So that's where it does stand as of right now. Obviously, this isn't something to get super concerned about. I know many of you, obviously, when you hear the word severe weather, you start to get a little bit anxious and things. Just think of this as an informative session right here. We're just trying to keep you updated with the latest data and what we are thinking. Obviously, you want to try to stay within your homes. And the good thing is, with this being an overnight thing, you obviously will already be in the safety of your home. But as long as you're taking those proper precautions, having a way to receive those warnings, especially if they turn severe, to wake you up, and just staying up to date with our latest forecast, you are good to go. Those are the best pieces of advice that we can give you. And obviously in real time, as this is rolling through, to stay up to date with myself, whoever else will be staffed here as this line is moving through for the latest data on the radar and what we're seeing in terms of damage reports and things. So once again, the big key messages with this are going to be the timing as of right now. So this is subject to change. This will change, or this can change, and this will change. Obviously, these models don't nail down the exact timing about 2 days out. We get a much better idea within that 72-hour window, and that's what you've seen over the progress of this weekend into this morning. But 3 a.m. on Wednesday, that's when this line is going to be moving through, approaching our far western counties, a lot more widespread by about 5 to 6 a.m. So obviously, kind of convenient timing right there. Our morning show will be on 5 to 7 a.m. and we will be continuing to keep you updated as this does make progress through central Georgia. Then by about 8 a.m., the time many of you are used to heading out to work and such, this will be mainly to our east, along the I-16 corridor, our far eastern half counties. Areas further to the west, the heavy rain will be out of your area. However, those gusty winds are still going to be a factor on the backside of this front. And then the anticipated clearing, I went a little bit too far right there, is going to be around 10 a.m. So this will be definitely down I-16, making your way over to Savannah, Statesboro, and here in central Georgia, it's just going to be quite windy. Some clouds are going to be on the backside, but then the severe weather risk is definitely over around 10 a.m. As it stands right now, we'll see some change, and we'll continue to keep you updated with those changes. We have our weather impact alert in place. This is going to be for the first half of Wednesday morning. The timing, 2 to 10 a.m. as it stands right now that we just went over. The impact, gusty winds associated with stronger to severe thunderstorms. And the biggest thing that you need, stay weather aware and have that way to receive possible alerts, since this will be happening during the nighttime hours when you're fast asleep. If you have a severe weather warning, you're definitely going to want it to wake you up. So thank you for tuning into this. It definitely went pretty long right there, but like I said, we're going to continue to do this each evening, each morning, all the way until this severe weather event, and then we'll let you know when you're in the all clear from any of these strong to severe thunderstorms. And if it's anything like about 2.5 weeks ago, we had a front move through a little bit before that one that brought all the severe thunderstorm warnings, the tornado warnings, and we kind of had a very similar setup, didn't even have any severe thunderstorm warnings pop up. So obviously we hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst and definitely want to get you ahead of the game to know what to expect throughout the morning hours on Wednesday. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to look out for the latest forecast each afternoon, evening, and morning, and tune in with Ben Jones right here on 13 WMAZ Plus at 9 p.m. later on to break down the latest data with the severe weather potential.